Look at that girl, she's reading.
So weird. Let's throw rocks at her.
Look at that kid, he watches anime.
What a nerd. Let's throw rocks at her.
Oh, he's drinking cereal with apple juice?
Disgusting. Let's throw rocks at her.
Perhaps instead of judging someone by their actions that are harmless, you can try to empathize with them. I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't exactly drink my cereal with milk. And this is an alternative little me figured out after seeing someone else do it. Maybe if you try it, you'll find it's not so bad. This is actually pretty good. Maybe we shouldn't.
He's also watching anime.
I was a weird kid. There's no denying that. I mean, being from the diverse background I'm from, and how tall I am, and that I like cartoons so much, it's hard to consider me normal. You can use whatever synonym you want. Weird, bizarre, abnormal, strange, special, unique. My family was partial to the word original, but I've always liked the word quirky. Well, I'm fine with being weird now. Growing up, you go through very vulnerable times. Times where being different from others will end up with you being ridiculed and going through bad experiences. Words can hurt, but it's during these vulnerable times that words hurt us the most. Look, I'm already out of the norm. I speak 4 languages, and yeah, if you look at all the statistics, polyglots are the rarest among the bunch. It's hard to find one in the wild, unless you're in the right place. And that can make it hard to fit in at times. And I went to a Swiss school, a school that teaches you German, Spanish, French, and English. A school that's designed to make you a polyglot by the end of it. And still, when I was in the 1st grade, I was considered the weird kid in my class simply because I spoke English and watched shows in English.
Okay, looks like they're gone now.
This is in Spain, mind you, where according to self-reported estimation, about 32% of people can speak English. So I'd get laughed at. This all got to the point where when I tried to move to the German school in my town, they told my mother that she should stop speaking Portuguese and English to me. Can you imagine a teacher telling the parent, stop speaking your native language with a child? I mean, it's insane. I mean, I did the entrance exam and I did it well. It's not like I can't speak German or anything, they should let me into the school, but I wasn't being specific enough apparently. I pointed at the map and said, I see a kid in the zoo, instead of saying I see a kid in the zoo on a sunny day wearing a blue shirt holding a red balloon. I just described what I saw. No one told me to go into more detail. In my head, I had answered the question, and according to the parameters they set, I had answered the question. But in order to reject me, the school heads went after my ability to speak languages, a fundamental piece of my identity. Being called names doesn't feel good. Words can hurt, especially when they come from people close to you. But eventually, I came to terms with being called a weirdo, and I did this through a very simple process. You see, weird is the opposite of normal. And no one can be normal because it's an arbitrary concept. What is normal will vary from country to country, from city to city, from even person to person. As someone once said, what is normal from afar will seem quite strange up close. Anyway, back to me. I already touched upon this in the opening, but as a kid, I loved milk. I loved it so much, that creamy taste, the texture, how it brought my cereal to life for breakfast. It was just exquisite. And how it would bring my snacks to life, be it a popsicle, or a yogurt, or Yakult, or whatever I wanted. Most of the stuff I ate had milk in it. I was having so much milk every day that at the end of the day, sparkles would come out of my mouth. It's not necessarily the most pleasant experience, let me tell you. And my parents agreed, so they took me to the doctor, where we discovered the shocking truth. I don't know how to tell you this, but your son, he's lactose intolerant. So yeah, I'm lactose intolerant.
Let's throw rocks at him.
And that's not even the strange bit. It is normal to be lactose intolerant when you look at it in terms of majority and minority, since those that are able to process lactose are actually the minority in the world. Like, only about 33% of the population can do that. Do you know what that means? Do you? I find it fascinating that so many products are made out of milk, when only about a third of our people can actually process it. Not to mention, cow's milk is very bad for you. But still, it's somehow the norm. I mean, we're slowly replacing it, but it's the norm. I mean, I don't mind. As a lactose intolerant, I'll gladly suffer the consequences to eat pizza, Yakult, or even ice cream. But as a kid, when I didn't have much self-control, my parents put restrictions on how much yogurts I was allowed to take in a week, which were 2. I honestly can't blame them. They're the ones that had to clean up all that sparkles. I mean my sparkles. But once this diagnosis came through, I was left to discover a terrible truth. I had nothing to put on my cereal. You know how horrible dry cereal is? Ew. I would usually eat this specific cereal, the one with the berries in it. And during the era of dry cereal, I would always pick the berries out and eat them independently. Because this, good. This, ew. I tried pouring water on it once, but that only made it worse. But one day, when I was going about my breakfast, a lost memory surfaced. One from when I was about 3 years old in a hotel somewhere in the UK. I had seen a guest in the buffet pour apple juice on his cereal. Here's something you need to understand. I love apple juice. So much so that I'll have some with almost every meal. And there's a whole section in my fridge just for apple juice. Honestly, if I could pick a sponsor for this channel, it'd be an apple juice company. I wouldn't even take the money. I just want the supply of apple juice. Anywho, that morning I grabbed my apple juice, poured it onto my cereal, and an obsession was born. One so strong that to this day, I still eat cereal with apple juice every morning. Don't know why, I just have this notion that breakfast has to be cereal, and I'm not taking the cereal alone, I'm putting something in it. Hey, stop it. I see you. Get away from those keywords. I see you typing your bashful comments, but before you bash my beloved cereal with apple juice like you do Hawaiian pizza, answer me this. Have you tried it? No? Have you even read Green Eggs and Ham? The whole point of the story is to not judge something before trying it because it might be good, even if the idea seems wild to you. I need to add a small caveat before you try this breakfast of the gods. You need to think of synergy. There's some cereals that are going to be a good combination, and some that are going to be bad. I mean, it's all up to personal taste anyway. Most of my friends would be disgusted at the simple idea and call me a weirdo and other worse names just for eating this. But those that gave it a chance and tried it would fall in love with it and eat it with me every time they came to visit. Now, you might think the same thing, but many foods you enjoy now, many combinations that seem normal to you now, were once called weird and frowned upon too. Even when food from other cultures is brought over to a homogeneous community, it's called weird at first. It takes time for the stuff to mesh. Just don't be a hater. Let people be. Just because you find their actions, tastes, or even likes strange, doesn't mean they are bad. So long as they enjoy them, good. Playing with your imagination is accepted when you're a kid, but as you grow up it becomes more frowned upon. This was very much my case, and at times I felt alone because of it. But during a school field trip to a farm, I met someone else who used their imagination. Like me, who would also play around, imagining worlds, playing with monsters, and etc, etc. And we bonded over that. The thing is, he was a year below me, and that was pretty strange at the time because hanging out with people from other school years, even from other classes, was kind of frowned upon. Or at least it felt that way. Like, I was in Class A, and I had a few friends in Class B, but I would rarely hang out with them during the break. And even when we did do games together, Class B was considered the enemy. It's so strange how this segmentation just existed. But this was the one guy I could empathize with and play with my imagination. So I ignored the stigma. But even he had to leave sometime. And I was left alone again. Yeah, I always had some friends, but I felt that everyone I vibed with, even just a little, they ended up leaving. I got into comics, manga, other niches that were considered a bit strange. And as people kept leaving, I kept hiding more and more of my interest, at least around the people that I wanted to be friends with, because I didn't want to be alone. Eventually, after going through some dark times, I met people who shared the same interests, which led me to meet and connect with some great people, including my best friend. Because we go through vulnerable times, because people have their prejudice on what is meant to be normal, on what you are meant to be, it's important to stay who you are, for you to stay the interesting person you are meant to be, and that once you find your people, those who you feel truly comfortable being yourself around, treat them well, keep them with you, because after all, us weirdos have to stick together.